Welcome, everyone, to week 4 of Advent. So when I was in college, I had a group of friends. Well, at least I thought they were my friends. And we decided to go up to Lake Erie for a weekend. We had a great time, and one of the guys was an Eagle Scout. And so he really knew how to tie different knots. And so one evening, just after sunset, we were all just playing around, and he said, "Hey, let me show you this cool knot that I just figured out." And so me, being the blind dummy that I was, just offered up my hands. And once he'd secured my hands, he then proceeded to secure my legs. Next thing I know, I'm being tossed into the back of the Crown Victoria that we'd rented to go up to Lake Erie in. I was in the trunk, they drove me. I had no idea where I was. And they, in addition, decided it wasn't enough that I would be in the trunk, that I needed to be blindfolded as well. So it started to get a little freaky because I wasn't sure, are these my friends? I just didn't know. So lo and behold, all of a sudden the car, after many turns and a long time of driving, stops. So I think, oh, okay, what's here? Where am I being taken? And the trunk opens, and so they took me out of the car with my hands and legs tied, laid me down on the side of the road, and it was quite dark. Got in the car and drove away. And then the fear started to set in, where I was wondering, is this a joke, or am I really gonna have to find my way back? So I used what I could with my hands to undo my blindfold so I could see clearly all around. And I see on either side of the road, endless cornfields. There were no homes anywhere near. And I had a moment of panic. These friends of mine had done something I'd never expected. I didn't know what to do. Luckily, they did drive back after about 15 minutes of letting me sweat. And they undid all the knots, and we had a jolly old time about it. But it just goes to show you, sometimes people may not be who they seem. And so I want to lead you into the story this week in Matthew, where we look at the story of the wise men meeting with King Herod. And King Herod says some things, and you think, oh, is he really interested in Jesus? Or is he not? Is he pretending to be interested? I want you to find out for yourself. I hope as you read, you figured out that King Herod is the bad guy in the story. He only wanted to find out about Jesus so he could make sure that he never lived. Herod wasn't the biggest enemy that Jesus faced, but Herod was the enemy. And it was scary, I'm sure, for Joseph and Jesus and Mary when they were alarmed in the middle of the night that they needed to flee. As well, Herod himself was scared of Jesus as well, and what he meant, what the dominion of a new king would mean for himself and for the rest of Jerusalem. But he was not the biggest enemy, because we know Satan was the biggest enemy. Satan was there, even at that time, trying to destroy the work of Jesus, as he does try to destroy our work. He's our opposer. He's our accuser. He wants to see us fail. And he's endlessly trying to undermine every one of our efforts and separate us from our rightful relationship in union with God. What's surprising is that Jesus didn't show up as this warrior. In fact, all the Israelites were looking everywhere to find this amazing king that would come, because they thought he would ride in on a white horse and be the knight that saved everyone. But Jesus came in like a lamb. He was a baby. He was born in this meager circumstance in a feeding trough, of all places. I mean, who's born in a feeding trough? And then he goes on to be, not some mighty warrior or wielding swords, but he's a carpenter. He's like a wood shaver. I mean, who would have expected this? So he came in a very humble way. But don't let that change that Jesus was and is our amazing warrior, because he did have victory, and he has overcome Satan, and he's overcome all of the accusations and the accusers in our world so that we can be united and have union with God. In this world, sometimes we feel darkened or in dark times. I mean, this year has been kind of a dark, isolating time for all of us. Do you feel like you're alone? Do you feel somewhat hopeless at times? Do you feel like the stuff that's before you, the work you have to do, is overwhelming? Do you feel that you're not able to cope with the things around you, the circumstances of life that have been presented to you? Well, this is a great season to remember the Jesus that defeated Satan also defeats our fears. We don't have to be afraid anymore. We have the opportunity to have the freedom, the grace, the ability to reconnect with God. And whenever we're afraid, we know we can turn to someone who's faced all of the difficulties, who's gone to the ultimate sacrifice of his own life to give us life. So rest assured this season, as you think about all of the different things that people have been afraid of, and including the things today that we might be afraid of or worried about, that God has given us a peace to overcome it. That we have the ability to not be afraid. We do not have to be afraid. We can live free. So pause on this next screen and take a few minutes to really share your heart with God so that He can bring you the peace that He always brings to all of us.